Hey, welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks everybody for joining us. Wherever you are, we do appreciate it. So coming up here in just a minute, we're going to have Ken Yeung on. I'll be notified when he is going to be joining the show for another edition of Tech Briefs. Before we do that, just a little pre-roll because we are going to be talking about this coming up in this segment, but I'll walk through just a little bit more of the PlayStation 5 and what's happening with that, in particular, some of the games that are coming out. So the Future of Gaming event is what happened yesterday. Big moment for PlayStation. We already knew what was going to be happening with the Xbox Series X. That came out previously. They've been doing a lot of events. PlayStation, not so much. A little bit of reveals, a little bit of talk about it, but we actually got to see the console itself and some gameplay. And again, we will be recapping this with Ken here in just a minute, but I did want to highlight a couple of the games. Let's talk about that. Let's go to the game side of things. So we do have another Spider-Man coming out, and I am so excited about this. If you have not played the first Spider-Man game, it was really great, but now we get it's Spider-Man with Miles Morales as Spider-Man, so it's the Miles Morales version, which is just as cool. And it's not really an expansion, or a sequel. It's more like an expansion from the first one. So definitely cool with that, and that's really what I wanted to highlight is that another Spider-Man game coming out. So it's going to be there for the PlayStation 5 when that rolls out. But we're going to talk more about that here now coming up. So I want to thank everybody for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. Hit that subscribe button. We're live here every weekday, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and a lot more. Right. And so I appreciate you being a part of this show and hitting that subscribe button. So let's do this. Let's get ready here to talk about tech briefs, and we're going to do that right now. All right, I'm Greg Nibbler. It is Friday, which means it's time for another edition of Tech Briefs, where I am joined by technology editor for Flipboard, Ken Yeung. Ken, hello. How you doing?
Hey, Greg. Great to be here again.
Yeah, we've got so much to talk about this week, as usual, but let's kick it off with this and talk about what is going on with this trend with so many different companies in facial recognition technology and the pulling back of it, essentially. So it started off earlier this week. We had IBM make their announcement that they are going to cease developing and utilizing facial recognition technology, especially when it comes to law enforcement. You've got Amazon with their recognition software, and they said they're doing a one-year moratorium on that for law enforcement agencies, and now Microsoft is also banning the use of banning the use of their facial recognition technology with police forces. So it certainly seems to be a big move across the tech landscape. What do you think about this?
So we talked about this last August, if you recall, on Tech Briefs. There's been so much news that's been happening around this, but at the core of the issue is, how does facial recognition technology, how is it being used by law enforcement, by the police, in terms of identifying people they suspect of crimes? And the actual use of it has mixed results, because it raises concerns about racial discrimination. Right? We've heard stories just in tech, outside of the law enforcement space, of facial recognition misidentifying people as animals, black people as gorillas or animals or something way more offensive, and having being incapable of identifying dark-skinned people by gender or whatever. So there's a lot of ethical and legal issues at play here. But when you look at what IBM, Amazon, and Microsoft have done, they're taking a stance. How far they're going is still up for debate. But IBM's,
right,
they're saying that they're calling this algorithmic justice. They want algorithmic justice. Microsoft and Amazon have come out and said, look, we want federal government to regulate the use of facial recognition. But let's not forget that while IBM, Amazon, and Microsoft are the top main players in this space, and IBM said, look, we are stopping facial recognition technology in general. Like they're out of that market. Amazon says, we're going to postpone it for a year to kind of wait and see what the government's going to do. Who knows whether that's going to happen? Microsoft's taking a little bit more of a tougher stance, saying we're going to wait until the federal government. So these companies are not in sync in terms of like a standard approach. They're taking what they feel is the best, what they think is best, obviously with mixed results. But again, there's other companies that are doing facial recognition, such as Clearview AI, that is doing that. That is
I was
being
just going to say,
giving that stuff
Clearview,
to
certainly.
law enforcement. Yeah. And let's not forget, Amazon has also done this with law enforcement as well. They've given their recognition technology, which has been controversial, and they've given that out to law enforcement as well. And Microsoft has also lobbied for local governments to implement bills that will allow police to use facial recognition. So there's some, again, this is not a clear-cut solution problem. There's no solution for this that's going to appease everyone. But I think at the end of the day, everyone, these tech companies are saying, look, federal government, you need to take a stance in terms of how you want to regulate this technology.
Right, and that's, you touched on a lot of issues there, and there are a lot of problems when it comes to facial recognition technology and how it's implemented and how effective it is. And there's been so many different studies about that. I will say there is something in February. Cory Booker and Jeff Merkley, two senators, introduced the Ethical Use of Facial Recognition Act, which would create guidelines for how governments as a whole use that technology. So I know there's a lot of push for that, for more regulation on it. But at least we're seeing these companies back off. Like you said, there's still other ones out there, but there's a lot to really dive into with that, and you can check all that out at Digital Trends and at Flipboard. Continuing on here with bringing you up to date with the news that happened this last week. Switching gears a bit, let's talk about the Sony PlayStation 5. Now, I know you're a PlayStation user, I'm a PlayStation user. We haven't seen a lot from PlayStation, really, in comparison to the Xbox Series X, but PlayStation 5 with their console, they say, is still on the path to being released later this fall. Of course, everything's kind of up in the air right now, but they said it's still going that way. And there were some new games that came out, and I want to talk about those, but really, we got to see the console, and that is something that a lot of people weren't expecting. They've been so hesitant to showcase this thing, and now finally we get to see it. It's definitely a remarkably different design than the Xbox Series X, and there's going to be two different versions of it. So you're going to have a disc version, essentially, and then a digital version of it, where it's just everything's stored in the cloud, and some on the console itself, I believe. We've got the breakdowns of those. But just let me ask you this, Ken. Just on the look alone, do you like it?
Having just bought a PS4, this is certainly a different design, but I can't say that it's horrible, but I kind of want to know a little bit more about the thinking behind the design. I'm not a designer by any means, so I can't hardly criticize it. But would I want the PS5? Probably. I mean, you're looking at the games that are available for it. That were revealed yesterday. It's pretty impressive. But going back to the design, I mean, while I'm kind of like indifferent in terms of the design, the internet has really taken a shine to it, and just and rightfully so. In a joking fashion, you look at what Microsoft did with the Xbox Series X. I mean, it looks like a cube, right? And then you look at the PS5, and people are comparing it to, look, it looks like Sauron's tower from Lord of the Rings, right? Some people are comparing to other things. Looking at it aside right now, for some reason I'm thinking, if you look at remember the World Cup trophy, for soccer, for football, I mean, it has some, it has that weird thing, curve, the thing going on. I don't know. I mean, it looks, it's easy to make fun of, but certainly aside from the design, people are not going to buy it just because of how strange it looks. They're going to buy it based off the processing and off the games and the performance that it provides, and based off of what they provide.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you look at certainly, as you said, this is not they weren't expecting, people were not expecting the PS5 to be revealed, the actual console, although at some they're eagerly awaiting it because Sony's been dragging this out, right? A lot of these companies have been dragging it out. If you look at what this week was supposed to be E3, so it's fitting that it kind of came out today, that it was revealed, although it came out at the very end. So if you weren't really paying attention to the live stream, which like myself, you're just having it in the background, you would have totally missed it, right? Until you looked on social media or read it on Digital Trends or on Flipboard. So this is it looks all right, and we're still waiting on the price. But you look at the accessories, HD camera, with the wireless headset, and all the obviously the controller has been revealed weeks ago. So let's talk about the games. What game are you? Which one of these let's say 10 or so games that were revealed, because it just went out there, are you most interested in? And I
Well, and
mean,
that's and yeah, and they some of these exclusive games. I mean, I do like they focused on a lot of their games that are Sony exclusive. The one being the Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I guess isn't an exact sequel to Spider-Man. It's not like Spider-Man 2 from the first video game. It's more like an expansion on it, so a whole new kind of gameplay of it. But regardless, anything with that game, which I have played, and it's incredible. So I mean, just expanding on that is great. And then you've also got Horizon Dawn, which we knew there was going to be a sequel to that at some point, so they did reveal that. I had to stop playing that game because I was terrible at it. But the sequel, I know a lot of people want to play, so there's that. And then for you, I know there's GTA 5 that is out. Ken, how do you feel about this?
so I watched it because they opened that up with GTA 5, right? With Grand Theft Auto 5, and I just beat the game, so now I'm on Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is taking up more of my time. But when I looked at what they showed off here, I'm thinking, okay, wait, didn't I just play this game? But here's the thing: they're bringing more stuff to this amazing game, to GTA 5 for the PS5. So I don't know whether I would actually go ahead and buy the game again for this, or if I happen to have the
Yeah.
PS5 because I have the digital download, will I automatically get the upgrade? Like, I want to know a little bit more about that. But just based off of the new scenes and the new missions and campaigns that what we're looking at now, who knows? I mean, this could keep me going back again because I really enjoyed GTA 5, and I kind of feel like there should be more of a plot line and storylines for me to play with. And as we're talking, I kind of want to go back to one thing about the PS5 game console. We don't know the price, but as we talk about the different accessories,
Yeah.
there's two different versions of the PS5. There's a version with the CD drive, and then there's a all digital version. So if you're like me and just buying games straight off of the PlayStation Network, then you want the digital version. If you are still prone to having discs, and we know that this PS5 will be reverse compatible with games for its
Right.
predecessors, then you want the traditional game console. So they're still coming out with two versions, and whether or not this will be the pattern for the PS6 and to 10 and so on and so forth, who knows? But I'd
Right.
imagine that eventually that'll fade away, that you'll have just an all digital version.
I'm guessing that this will be the last version that comes out with that disc. But yeah, we'll have to see. So that's the PlayStation. There's a lot to unravel with that. There was more games. There's everything. And like we said, you can read it, Digital Trends and Flipboard. And then really quick, one other quick update. Twitter continually makes changes to battle misinformation. They've been doing this pretty steadily over the last several weeks, but even beyond that. There's now an update that I believe Android users are seeing right now, where if you share an article on there and you hit retweet or share it on there and you haven't clicked to open it, it will ask you to open it. It'll say, hey, would you like to read this first before you share it? And there's a reason for that. There's a study that came out from Columbia University that found that 59% of links shared on social media were never clicked before being posted. So that just shows that people see a headline like, oh, yep, share it. And that can certainly lead to a lot of issues with that.
We've all done it, right? We've all done it on Twitter, where we see somebody posting something with a link to an article, and it kind of goes our way, right? Based off of what our beliefs are, or hey, this is an interesting point, and we will retweet it. Doesn't have to be politics related. It doesn't have to be
Right.
news related. It could be tech related, science related, gaming, whatever, right? It's just like, hey, check out the new PS5. It could be completely garbage, right? But you're retweeting, or it could be like an old article from 2017 or something like that. We've all done it. Nobody's innocent of that. But this isn't a good move by Twitter, I think, realistically, right? And this is an experiment that's only on Android right now. So if you're on iOS, if you're on web, or you're on TweetDeck or anything like that, you're not going to have this right now. But yes, and I've actually encountered this as I have an Android phone. So I will retweet something, and somebody's tweet with a link, and it will say, hey, have you read this article? It's prompting you to read it, so you are more informed. So you know that, one, you're not getting it from a less reputable website. And this is
Right.
only for news publishers, right? This only pops up if you're sharing a link from a news publisher, not from some another site from like your personal blog or anything like that. Second, this is going to help to stem the tide. So it's like give you pause to rethink: is this actually something that you want to do? Are you actually helping a particular cause? That being to help to enlighten and encourage constructive discussion, or are you basically
Right.
flaming tensions and purposely spreading misinformation? Like things like, I don't know, like about voter fraud, voting by mail fraud, right? Or
Yeah.
is coronavirus a hoax, or did we land somebody on the moon, or
And there's so
Elon
much of
Musk is an
that.
alien, whatever, all that type of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
this is
All those
a
conspiracy
good
theories.
step forward, and Twitter has taken steps in the past few weeks
Right.
to make to kind of curb misinformation, including labeling tweets as with labeling some tweets saying, hey, you might want to double check this information because it's been proven to be false. Not necessarily fact checking, just saying,
Right.
hey, a word of caution, right?
Yeah, yeah, and at least it's something, and I feel like it's a good thing that they're doing, at least trying to do that, trying to make people at least think before that just instant retweet and of what's going on. But you can read more about that at Digital Trends and Flipboard. And Ken, as always, great to talk to you. I will talk to you next week with more tech briefs.
Thanks, appreciate it.